Good morning everyone, welcome to my rain-soaked garden. And pretty much every day this week we have had downpours which have been quite heavy, so I do have quite a few flattened plants, but I'm not complaining at all. It's absolutely wonderful. Comparing the garden to this time last year, the soil is just drenched, saturated, everything's flourishing, it's fantastic. Let's go and I'll show you what I've been up to this week. I've pulled out some plants which were in this garden bed. You may remember there was some calendulas over here. There were rocket plants that had gone to flower. They looked quite pretty, but they were starting to show signs of disease. And now I have replaced them with some summer annuals. There's a couple of Gomphrias, and over here I have 3 zinnias, which you can see there. I actually ended up having to replace one of them because it got eaten by snails. That's why I love having my spare plants. And even though I cleared this area out of the mint, you can see that it's starting to come back again. That's the chocolate mint. One of my big garden mistakes I made, putting mint straight into the ground. So mint spreads by sending out these runners just under the soil surface. If I put my finger under here, you'll be able to see it. And they just keep on going on and on. And you see it puts out all those roots and it just continues to spread. The best thing to do with this is to put it into a pot so that it is contained. Otherwise you will be stuck in a situation like me where you're constantly pulling it out, and the plants that you do want to grow here, like the zinnias that I just showed you, will be competing for nutrients due to the competition of this delicious but very pushy plant. It's taken a while, but I can finally show you the flowers on these carnations, which I sowed the seeds about 1.5 to 2 years ago, and they're all starting to open up. These are carnations called Grenadine White. I just picked this one off and the smell is beautiful. They make a great cut flower with lovely long stems, and the plant actually gets up to around 60 centimeters in height. So taking a look at the plant here, if we go in a bit closer, you'll notice that a lot of the stems have flopped over, so they're not able to support themselves. What I could have done when this plant was growing was put a little mesh frame around it or use some bamboo canes just to keep it propped up. But what I think this is a great example of is how having a cottage style garden with that informality can really help people who want to achieve a beautiful eco-friendly garden, but they just don't have a lot of time. I've left this plant to find its own way, and if it wants to intermingle with the Nigella or the Johnny Jump Violas, whatever else is in here, even these straw flowers that are about to burst open, I'll just let it be. And there will be times where you may feel like you need to tame a plant back a bit, like what I just showed you there with the mint. But some people love mint and they might want lots of it growing everywhere. I'm now near the back of the garden. This is a new area for this summer where I put in some more dahlias. I had 3 of these from last summer which I overwintered in pots, because I hadn't got this section ready for them. And then I did go out and buy a couple more varieties, actually more than a couple. And I've popped some of them in here, which I'm looking forward to showing you all of these beautiful flowers in a few months' time. There's this lovely lady who I follow on Instagram called Sam, and I learned this tip off her. She now has a flower farm which she started I think last year, and she's a wealth of knowledge when it comes to cut flowers. And one tip that she taught me was that if you pinch out the top part of each stem, that will encourage side shoots here, which you can kind of see a little start of one down there right in the corner. And those side shoots will produce longer, stronger stems for your flowers to put in a vase. I'm now standing at the entryway into the fan garden, and out of all the areas on our property. This is the one that I'm most excited about this year. I'm sorry if everything's looking a little bit glary in this week's update. It was meant to be overcast this morning, but as you can see, there aren't very many clouds in the sky. It's actually Friday morning, which is the day that I upload my videos. So I don't have any time to wait for more clouds to cover that sun, so I'm just going to keep on going. Do you remember this little area where I put in those wild rocket seedlings a few weeks ago? Well, they have completely filled out now, and they've created this little informal border along this garden bed. They're also starting to put out flowers, which is what I was kind of hoping to happen. So although it is an edible crop, you can eat the foliage like, you know, your regular type rocket that you could buy in the supermarket. I've kind of put this in more so for its flowers. So I'm hoping come, you know, summertime, this will be a whole sea of little yellow blooms all along here. As well as planting the rocket in here, I did put other plants in at the same time, some of which got scratched out by the chickens and others which have done well, like this big patch of corn cockles. I wasn't sure what colours they would be, but I managed to get both these purple, and down here there are a few white flowers as well. And then there are a few foxgloves. I'm telling you, it's been such a good year for foxgloves. They've really loved all this rain that we've received over the last few weeks. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to quickly go through what I've planted out in each row. So this one hasn't quite been finished. I still need to pull out all of those heirloom beetroot. I've just been gradually taking a few out here and there for the kitchen. And in the front here, that's a chicory plant, that's a dahlia. I'm going to put some more low growing flowers in there, probably some marigolds. In here, this will probably be replaced with celosia. Behind that, there are some asters, amaranth, and then all in both these two beds where you can see those big stakes, that's where I have some tomatoes. There are 12 varieties in there. Then in the second bed, this is the pineapple sage. I'm a little bit concerned about that because I have the pineapple sage on one side and the wild rocket on the other. I feel like there's not going to be much of a pathway here, but I'm really hesitant to dig this up because I did move it last year and it struggled. So I might just leave it there, and maybe I can somehow like trim it back or let it kind of tie it up, something. I'll do something with it so that I'm still able to walk through this section. Okay, so there's a couple of plants here which are the globe amaranths. This one here is the cotton plant which I put in last year. I thought it had died off. There were some branches that were, you know, dead, so I've just trimmed it back, and this is starting to happen. You never know, I might still get some cotton off it. Then behind that I have some zinnias. This is from a cut flower mix. And then I had just shown you them, that's some more of the tomatoes. I have previously showed you these two beds here where I have lots of my overwintered eggplants, capsicums and chilies, some of which I did buy new this year. And then in front of them, in the both two rows here, I have some straw flowers. That one's a tall mix pack. The ones over there are the copper straw flowers. And then in here is where I've put in a couple of those liliums which I purchased a few weeks ago. I firstly put them in pots. They were getting quite large, so I ended up putting them in here. And then this one here is the African basil, which is looking much better than it did during the winter. But I managed to survive here all due through the colder weather, which I'm quite impressed with. And then if you come over this way, so I just said that was the copper straw flowers there. There are some annual salvias in here, which I bought a punnet off from the garden centre. But the one thing I did want to show you was what's happening down here. So I've had mentioned these are the liliums that I bought online, and I had mentioned I was going to put them in the raised garden bed area. but that's not ready yet, and I really needed to get them in the ground. So I've just extended the garden bed that was here, and I've put in 20 in this section, and I've actually given away quite a lot of the other ones I already had. I think I went a bit too OTT purchasing 40 of them. I'm standing back at the entryway to the fan garden because, as well as working in there, I also pulled out a lot of plants in this garden bed, which was a little bit hard to do because some of them are still looking great. But I was just thinking about summer and I really wanted to get everything sorted out. So as well as pulling the plants out, I've amended the soil and put fresh plants in. I'll probably show you what's in here next week, so that I don't bore you too much with showing you all these tiny little seedlings. But why I'm over here is because on the mulberry tree we're starting to get some fruit, and although I haven't been able to harvest big basket loads of mulberries, there's only been a few here and there. We've just been picking them off as we go, especially my youngest son. He's been really enjoying coming out here and taking these off. That one's probably still not quite ready, but if you go searching in there amongst the foliage, there's plenty left. Since I'm over here, I'll give you a quick update on the old greenhouse, which I'm going to make into an edible fort for the kids. I have planted beans on both sides of the frame, which I had shown you a few weeks ago. I can't remember which side is which, but one side is the Kentucky Wonder and the other side over there is, what did I plant over there? It's the Belotti, Climbing Belotti. This is what the frame looks like from the front, so my kids will be able to walk into here, and the hope is that it'll be absolutely covered with edible crops, probably some flowers out the front. And I was playing around this week with some old wood, which is old fence. I thought I might be able to do something with that to kind of give it more of an entryway, like a door frame. I don't know, I was just thinking just make it look a bit rustic, I guess, and then I could put some chairs at the back for them too. I'm kind of just like winging it with this. I'm just going to see what happens. But what I do need to do now is put some chicken wire all along the sides, because these beans on both sides are climbing beans and they need something to hang on to. So they'll reach up to about 1.8 meters in height. You can see this one here is desperate to find something to cling on to already, so I really need to make this a priority. I think I said before that I was going to do it, but I just haven't got around to it. When it comes to beans, there's two different types that you can grow. There's bush beans, which tend to stay quite small and compact, usually around 50 centimeters in height, and then you've got your climbing beans, which can really take off once they're given some support, and they can get quite tall. I'm hoping that they'll at least reach up to here, and if not, they may be able to go over a bit more. And then I was thinking I might put some other crops in here, like cucumbers, or even some fun colourful gourds, which the kids might enjoy. We're now at the end of this week's garden update. I've ran out of time and I really need to go to the shops before I pick my kids up from school. Although I do grow food here all year round, it's certainly not as bountiful as it is during the summertime. So I need to pick up a few bits and pieces to make them dinner for tonight and over the weekend. So I'll say goodbye and thank you so much for watching and all of your support. Have a safe week and I'll see you all soon.